Can you see that forward?
Welcome back to another celebration of Black History Moment with the City of Mullins. I am Cynthia O'Ford.
And I'm Rhonda Bain, the curator of the South Carolina Tobacco Museum.
Today, I am excited to be here to help with this celebration. We are going to talk about Sergeant James Davis. He is a hero, a Mullins hero, who was a prisoner of war, and we want to celebrate his return and celebrate him being an essential piece of Black history right here in the city of Mullins.
Okay, so I'm going to actually give you a little bit of the history. I happened upon this story probably a little over a year ago and was completely engrossed in it. So it was actually on our last year's Black History Month walking tour. So if you were on that, you already know it, but I'm going to go over it again. The big day here in Mullins was actually August 5th of 1953, and it actually started at our post office here on Main Street. Mr. Purcell Rogers, he was actually a veteran. So a lot of you received a lot of information through the post office before the townspeople did. So he actually found out that after 2.5 years that Sergeant James Davis was liberated, was at Freedom Village. That's the village they set up for all the POWs. He was actually one of the first ones taken out. I think the first one taken out when it was liberated, and that he was alive and coming home. So it was such a moving moment for him. He actually closed the post office and drove down to Gapway to Miss Laura Davis's, the mother of James, to tell her that her son was alive and that he was finally free after 2.5 years of captivity.
Now that's something to celebrate about.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure that was emotional for not just his mother, but his family beyond, just his mom, just to have him there and just imagine waiting for 2 years and not knowing if he would return.
Absolutely. And from what I heard about James Davis, when you think about being a POW for a couple of over 2 years,
Right,
it's not ideal situations.
right.
Food is rationed, healthcare is non-existent, everything that can happen. He was actually, this was his second or third tour. He would get out, sign back up, get out, sign back up.
Right.
So he was in his 30s. And he was a very slight man. So I cannot imagine the ravages it took on his body. As a matter of fact, when he was taken out, he was so thin and ill that he had to be taken out via stretcher. He had tuberculosis. So he was brought back to the States to recover from that. And then the story started coming out from people that were there with him because, and I did not write this down, but it was close to 66% of the people that went into that camp,
Right.
they never came back out. They either starved or they died of illness.
Right.
So the fact that he was older, he was very slight, was remarkable in itself. But then the stories about James Davis started coming out from the other soldiers that were coming out.
Yes. So, what are some of those stories that we can share, with our viewers who may not know Sergeant James Davis?
Well, the ones that really are poignant to me is they had part of the soldiers that were captured. They had two chaplains, and they were young and they were much more strapping.
Right.
Well, you're looking at a communist country that is not Christian,
Yes.
is not, and they really want to break your will and try to convert you to communism while you're in the camp. They actually said if you converted and you started to believe, that communism was the way to go, you actually got treated better.
Right.
So weirdly, as soon as the two chaplains, who were, like I say, younger, bigger, as soon as they were brought in, they mysteriously died. So they had no one to preach, to have it, and they didn't want you to preach.
Yes.
But eventually, they actually, the other soldiers saw the spirituality of Sergeant Davis.
Yes.
And would actually bring him in the middle of the night to bedsides to give a good, just a good talk to, therapeutic, try to get on over the hump. So much so that during the 2.5 years there, by the end of it, they would send someone out with him. But when they were burying soldiers in shallow graves outside of the the camp outside of the fence, they would
Right.
actually let him go out and say words over the bodies,
Wow.
perform a very rudimentary funeral service
Mm.
for them. So he became basically the pastor, basically the spiritual
Right.
center of his group of people, that they would go out and stand in the yard and pretend like they were just together talking,
Mhm.
and they would actually be praying
Right.
and singing hymns and stuff like that. So he really kind of became the spiritual glue that
Mhm.
held a lot of the soldiers and gave them hope that they could actually get through
Mm.
this.
And that's a powerful testament in itself, just about his character and how he was determined, determined to be there for others and determined to be strong for himself so that he can make it back home. So
Absolutely.
that just takes a lot of strength and courage when you're in a situation where you don't know what if you're gonna live or die.
Yes,
So
and the other thing is he had not met his daughter Zola yet.
right.
He was captured and before he ever got home to see her, so he had a lot to go home for. They say he loved his mother. Before he
Mhm.
was married, he would send his money back home.
Right.
So much so that he finally told her, he's like, go buy a house, build a house. So she
Mhm.
had a little house on Gapway that she
Mhm.
proudly would say, my son helped me get this.
Yes.
And he was just very humble, patriotic, and just I always looked at him as he did the right thing.
Yes.
Yes.
Most definitely.
Under extreme odds.
Right,
Yes.
under extreme odds. But just imagine being miles and miles away. You have your mother to go home to, and you have a daughter to go home to.
Yes.
Amazing. I would have stayed alive.
Yes, yes, yes.
Or trying to, do my best to stay alive. But just having a beautiful home to come home to this city of Mullins to be able to raise his daughter.
Absolutely. And he did come back to the city
Mhm.
of Mullins,
Mhm.
and we actually found out something that is in none of this paperwork. I did not know this until this week. And would you like to tell them the Moonlight story?
Oh my goodness. So I've never had the chicken sandwich from Moonlight. Now I've heard that the chicken sandwiches were good. And I heard that he owned the Moonlight. Right.
Yes, I
He
did
owned
not know
Moonlight.
that.
Yeah,
So
so
I
he
wanted to
mentioned
know
that.
that.
So if you were ever at the Moonlight and you had the chicken sandwich, comment in the comment section. Let us know about that chicken sandwich because I never had it. But I've heard about it. So obviously he brought that tradition to life as well, bringing
I
Moonlight.
think the whole
Yeah.
town is better for the chicken sandwich.
Exactly.
Here. And now I did hear without this after I did this, I did hear that Zola worked at Moonlight.
No.
So I guess I was almost there to putting pieces together, but some part of it just comes from the community. It's never written down,
Mhm.
and those are my favorite things because
Yeah.
that really gives you insight that he owned the Moonlight. He lived in Mullins, and he actually lived in Mullins for his whole life. He
Yes.
died in 1985 at the age
Mhm.
of 67.
Mhm.
And yes, yeah. And he has a grandson, and that's something else I didn't know.
Mhm.
I called a lot of people on this story. I said, "Did you know about this? Did you know about this?
Mhm.
Did you know about we had this very famous POW?
Mhm.
Did you know about this?" And I knew we have other POWs, but for some reason, this story I had not heard it in all the
Right.
years of working to the museum. So I called our street and sanitation. Called Torres Gilchrist, and he
Mhm.
said, "I actually his grandson, Vincent Gerald,
Mhm.
was on our football team. He's about the same age as Taurus. So
Wow.
I found a little something about um, Vincent and his fumble recovery, saving the
Mhm.
auctioneers, advancing them in the playoffs. So
Right.
the tradition of this family and their love and just determination
Mhm.
just keeps going generation after generation after generation.
Right.
So I
Most
was,
definitely.
yes,
And then he came back home with a title. And he was a sergeant. I mean, he was
yes,
Sergeant James Davis. So
absolutely.
salute to Sergeant James Davis, or for being our hero. In the city of Mullins, and being a hero for those who needed them in their darkest hour. Miles and miles away, but he was that support. So salute to him for being our Black History hero for this particular segment.
Yes, yes. I thank him and his family for
Mhm.
their service because If anybody who's in a military family, it's not just the soldier that serves, the whole family serves. So we thank him and his family for their sacrifices.
Yes, I can definitely attest to that.
I was gonna say, not to put you on the spot, but,
serving is definitely something different. So he went through training, and then for him to continue to go back.
And you know what? The hilarious thing, not hilarious, but he wanted to join again. After all of this, I've been said, not for me. No, that's okay. I think I've done my time. But his mom said that's just what he wanted to do. He didn't want to farm. He did not want to do that. He wanted to serve his country.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right. There's so much that goes beyond just what you see on the picture, the person that's in the uniform. And that's what we saw. We saw someone who was brought back to us in the uniform. But there's so many things that, so many untold stories that I wish we had even in writing from Sergeant Davis. But we are so appreciative of what we were able to gather about his story. So if you know Sergeant James Davis and his family, if you are a family member of Sergeant James Davis, please put it in the comments. Let us know what stories you remember about Sergeant James Davis or that you've heard about. And especially if you had that chicken sandwich from the Moonlight.
I can imagine it.
What was the recipe?
Was it on hamburger bun or just plain bread?
It had to be like plain bread.
Oh,
it
that's
had
what
to be.
the
It was. I gotta chime in.
Okay, yeah. Mika's put it like she's not here today, but we knew that wasn't gonna happen.
It had to be plain bread.
Had lettuce and tomato.
It was lettuce and tomato and white bread.
Yeah,
and it was a leg and thigh like one piece. It was so good.
And the bones. Okay, so let me tell you, I had a sandwich similar to that. I'm sure it's not as good, and I did not know what to do with it. I used to work at in Green Sea Floyd's, and there was this little is it Sugar Bears or whatever across the street from the library where I worked. And that was pretty much you ate there or you drove on into Sunny Mart and got you a corn dog. That was it. If you bring your lunch. So I went and I was like, I would like the chicken sandwich, please. And I get that chicken sandwich and I just take a big bite, not realizing it is the whole chicken with the bones and everything. It had less tomato. It was on white bread with some mayonnaise. And I went and grabbed it and I was like I made such a mess in my car that day with chicken and everything, but it was good. It was
It
good.
brings back memories. You know what Zola said? Because we did ask her, Councilwoman Davis and I went and talked to her, and we asked her, we said, what was the recipe? And she said her mom was just a good cook. And she said it was her dad's commitment to quality. The chicken all had to be the same size chicken. Like he wanted the chicken to be a certain way. And he picked out the chicken that he used, that anybody used for cooking those sandwiches.
That's good.
Yeah. So it was a method to their madness that they're not willing to share anything other than
They're never
the
going to
chicken.
tell us the spices, are they?
Well, if you have the recipe,
Yes.
family members of James Davis, just just make us some chicken sandwich.
Yeah, please. We would like a chicken sandwich.
Oh goodness, but thank y'all for tuning in. I don't want if there are any other things that we want to share, I want to make sure that we don't omit anything from highlighting our hero for today and his contribution. Yeah, he was.
And he did get the prisoner of war medal, so he was recognized as the hero that he was.
Yes. And thank you all for tuning in with us today for this podcast, recognizing our very own Sergeant James Davis, our Mullins hero. And we also want to make sure that you remember about the parade for Saturday in Florence, right?
Yes.
Yeah, the Black History Parade in Florence. Just make sure that if you're available on Saturday, come out and continue to celebrate Black History with us. And we'll be back on next week to continue to honor people in the city of Mullins and beyond for Black History Month. So thank you for tuning in with us.
Yes, thank you so much.
We do have one comment though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's from Evangelist Nellie DeWitt Williams. She says they were very good sandwiches. And Russell Ford says, love the interview. Awesome story about a great man of Mullins. Great work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Again, join us on next week.
What we're doing next week?
We are doing Cicero. It's a Cicero.
Are we combining
right?
with yes, we are combining Cicero with we're doing I guess next week is Famous People Week.
Right.
Tuesdays it's Cicero, Luther Vandross, and Sandra Reeves Phillips.
So you have to make sure that you come back and join us for this podcast.
Somebody's gonna sing, right?
These two are gonna sing.
No. No, I sung Wheels on the Bus.
We'll play the music. We'll play the music so y'all
I
can
sung
hear
Wheels
what
on
the
the Bus
song
over
is.
the
But y'all
weekend,
know
and it was not pretty.
Big Luther, Little Luther. We're gonna play one of his songs, right? Bye. We'll see you next time.